Holy City Center Radio is episode 320, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. I hope your week is going well so far. We're smack dab in the middle, so, we're basically halfway done. So if it's not so great, just a couple more days to go, and the weekend will be here. If you're looking for something to do, whether it's a weeknight or a weekend, go to holycitycenter.com/calendar, and you'll be able to see everything that is coming up. So since the last podcast, I've been getting settled back in. It's always an adjustment period, the first day or so getting back from a vacation. Just like when I, go travel home like I just did, it takes a day or so to kind of get back in the routine of what it's like to be staying in, someone else's house and, what their day-to-day is like and how that relates to yours. And, it always takes a little time, and I'm always a little bummed, I have a great time with my family. So as much as I love Charleston and I'm very, very happy here most of the time, that those first few days when you're, just getting back, it's a little bit of a bummer sometimes. You just miss being around your family and, some of the fun things you got to do at home that you miss. And, so it's always a little tough, but thankfully the adjustment wasn't too bad for me. Now, especially that we're back underway with the week and I'm back on my normal schedule of, particular hours that I tend to work or meetings and all that. So, getting better. So we're good. And happy to be back for the second show since my return from that little vacation. Not a ton to talk about today, but it certainly is. The first thing we're going to talk about is certainly a big story. So outside of my adjusting to being ready to be back home, not a whole lot has been going on. Just, like I said, getting settled, working on the website and everything, and just getting back into the groove of things. So nothing too crazy to report on. I'm sure you don't mind no meandering stories from me. You're just happy that there's some news to get to. So I will not delay it any further. Let's get into the latest news. Jamie Lee Komoroski was sentenced to more than 2 decades behind bars following her guilty plea in a Charleston County courtroom on Monday afternoon. Komoroski, who is 27 years old now, pleaded guilty to a charge of felony DUI, 2 counts of DUI causing great bodily injury or death, and 1 count of reckless homicide. If you don't recognize the name or the details, these are the charges from the situation that happened on Folly Beach. It was a DUI crash that killed bride Samantha Miller on her wedding night. It occurred back in April of 2023. The accident also injured 3 others, including Miller's new husband, Eric Hutchinson, and 2 other family members that were involved in the wedding. Following the hearing, Judge Deidre Jefferson sentenced Komoroski to 25 years for reckless homicide, 15 years for 2 counts of DUI involving great bodily injury, and 10 years for the felony DUI charge. The sentences are concurrent, which means Komoroski will spend 25 years in prison. So they're not, you don't add those total, the total amount of years together. She's just going to serve out the sentences at the exact same time. So whichever one's the longest one is actually how long she'll be in jail. So 25 years. I haven't seen any indication from news stories about potential, parole or things like that. So as far as I can tell, that's, set in stone, but you never know how, sometimes how these things play out after, years pass. But that's what it looks like to me. I haven't seen anything otherwise. It was a very emotional, day in the court. Komoroski spoke, which I'll get to in a moment, as well as Samantha Miller's family, including her father and her husband, who she had only been married to for a handful of hours before the accident. Obviously very emotional. They're out there pouring their hearts out about someone that they love and they lost. And then on the other side, you have a young woman who made a very, very horrible mistake and is now going to be going to jail for it, also making some emotional statements in court. So after pleading guilty, Komoroski acknowledged that she had an alcohol addiction and recognized that she had selfishly disregarded how her actions impacted others. She vowed to dedicate her life to helping individuals struggling with addiction and to spreading awareness about the dangers of drinking and driving. She expressed that she was, quote, devastated, deeply ashamed, and sorry, end quote, for her actions. Now, this is a little bit of a different tone. You may remember Post and Courier and some other local outlets were able to get some of her jailhouse conversations when she was initially in jail after her arrest. And, she was having a lot of unguarded moments, and were saying things to family and friends that certainly came across as she felt, it came across as if she was someone who felt she was entitled, didn't fully grasp the depths and the gravity of what exactly she had done. And it certainly was not a good look. So, regardless, if how much you believe this is genuine remorse or just, trying to maybe get a lighter sentence or whatever. This is definitely a better tone than we were seeing from some of those media reports when she had been in jail for a few months. She went on to say, "Quote: I wish I could go back and undo this terrible tragedy, but I cannot. I will live the rest of my life with intense regret for what happened that night. I pray God stands by the side of my victims and their families and loved ones for the rest of their lives." End quote. Police say Komoroski was driving 65 miles per hour in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. Her blood alcohol level was 3 times over the legal limit. Miller died at the scene. She was still wearing her white wedding dress when she was hit and was flung from essentially what was some sort of golf cart type vehicle that they were driving in. The other folks, including her husband, also were injured. They all survived, although they spent some time in the hospital and had pretty severe injuries themselves, and I'm sure they are still recovering from. There have been some lawsuits involving the bars that Komoroski allegedly went to, and many of them have already paid out some settlement money. Taco Boy is still fighting. They were one of the bars mentioned, and they claim that Komoroski did not drink in their establishment, and making some other claims that they explaining why they shouldn't be held liable for this accident. So that's still playing out. But otherwise, this case is essentially and finally done as the sentencing happened. And as I said, it was very emotional. If you'd like, you can see clips. Particularly the one I'm seeing the most is her father. You can see those on local media. They're posting it on their websites or social media, particularly, Instagram, TikTok, places where you can see video. So if you want to do that, you can certainly go and check that out. But a very, very sad story just all around. So many lives just needlessly affected in such a negative way. And it's still just a little bit still out there with the Taco Boy side. They're fighting again, saying they shouldn't be held liable, and that their situation was different than some of the other places that she allegedly went to that night. But like I said, just a sad, sad story all around. If there are any significant updates for whatever reason, although it appears this will kind of be it. But I will be sure to update you if anything changes. We're going to completely switch gears here. Talk about something that's a little bit more fun. An Oscar winning actress by the name of Reese Witherspoon. Have you ever heard of her? She has a popular lifestyle brand called Draper James, I believe is how it's pronounced. And they are planning on opening a flagship store here in Charleston less than 6 months after they were testing the waters with a pop up shop where the sample line that she had there sold out within hours. So, not Witherspoon herself, but her director of retail and customer care for this brand said that the search is on for the right locations, but they are moving forward. So, it does appear Witherspoon's lifestyle brand will be coming to Charleston at some point in the fairly near future. If any of this sounds familiar, it may be because you remember when Reese herself was here for a pop-up that was held back in June. It was one day only, and it was held at Sewing Down South on King Street, which is a home goods store that's co-owned by Southern Charm cast member Craig Conover, excuse me, and they sell all manner of things, but the big highlight is pillows, which if you watch Southern Charm, that was, it started out as kind of a silly hobby and it became more serious. And now he has his own standalone store in King Street, which has been there for over a year now. I'm almost positive. It might be a couple of years at this point. But in any event, Witherspoon was there, seemed like a good matchup, had the pop up. Sales were amazing, according to them. I don't have any firsthand knowledge outside of this report. And so they decided, yeah, this is a good spot. So they will be coming to Charleston. Right now, the brand is sold online. And they do have 4 brick and mortar shops in places like Nashville, Lexington, and Auburn, Alabama. So looking to add the Holy City to that portfolio. And that's it. I told you it was a short show today. Not a whole lot going on. Obviously, we had the one big story and then something to just change up the pace a little bit. So you get a little break from me. No more episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you do have a chance, though, with this extra time I just gave you, please rate, review, like, subscribe, share this podcast with someone who may be interested in it. Whatever you can do. It really helps out. It might not seem like it's a big deal, but every subscription, every good rating, review, and every share on other platforms can help expand the profile of the podcast, get it on some lists and things like that. So I greatly appreciate it. A big thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins with LMC Soundsystem for producing this and every episode of Holy City Center Radio. And also a big thank you to Tyler Boone, whose music you hear in each and every show. I hope you have a good rest of your week. It's been a little too chilly for me, like not horribly so when it's daylight, but I'm not super loving it. Although I know some of you out there loving sweater weather or whatever. No, I'm not a huge fan of it. I like that it cooled off a little bit, a month or so ago, and wasn't that like oppressive heat from the summer, but it's a little too cold for me. But I hope you don't mind. Stay warm, have fun, regardless of what you think of the weather. And I'll be back with you on Friday. But until then, good night and good luck.